Well, my banner today is paying attention to the National Identification Authority. Why? Because they're saying that from this weekend, you can go to the offices and collect your ID cards. We want to find out why. To talk more on this is Beth Ajeble, who is the head of corporate affairs at the National Identification Authority. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mama. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I hope you're well too.
I'm doing very well.
So you are saying that people can come to your offices over the weekend to collect their ID cards. Why?
We did start the mass distribution in 2011. We covered 7 out of the 12 zones that we had in the Greater Accra region. So for some funding gap, we stopped that exercise. And then last year, we did some distribution again, this time not en masse, meaning going back to all the centers, but we clustered centers and put cards there for periods of time, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and then move on to other parts of the community, which means that apart from the Dangbe East, Dangbe West, we've been back to almost all the centers that we collected data. But we have. But
each time that you go there, people are aware that you're coming?
Yes, because we're doing not mass distribution, and we do it maybe zone by zone. We do the public education in the zones for people to know that we come in. We use the vehicles, we send letters to churches and organized groups within the community, and we have our own vehicles that go around to make announcements for a period of time before we start. And so we take the cars there and let our people sit there for some time for people to pick their cars. We did a mass distribution, the media was supportive, even the one that we did last year, the media picked it up, though we didn't have money to buy airtime to make announcement, the media was supportive, but people still didn't pick their cards. Now we have about half the cars back in our office.
So why is that? And just, you know, come to think about it, I haven't used my card for anything yet.
The cards are to be used for a lot of purposes. It's just that we have not started enforcing the law because it's mandatory. A law has been passed by Parliament, and if you don't use your card, you may not be able to access certain services when the law is enforced. And we want to get to the close of that by this year, and maybe next year following, we may be moving to that stage. So people don't just think that they have the choice to have the card or not to have the card. It's mandatory. A law passed by the Parliament of this country to say that it is the national ID card that you should use in every transaction that requires identification. And that is why we are opening up our doors, giving another mile for the public, that Saturdays we will get our staff to sit in, come and pick your ID cards at your convenience, because we picked information, feedback from the public is that some say they don't have the time during weekdays to leave the offices to come and pick these ID cards. So Saturdays definitely you are not going to work, so you can come and pick your ID card.
Okay, so where can people go to? I hope it's not your head office.
It is our head office, because we have made the effort to come to the communities with the cards. You were not able to pick it or access it at that time. You will have to take the responsibility now yourself to come to our office. We are not moving away from maybe the possibility of getting the cars back, but to deposit or leave the cars in the community, we need secure places that are good enough for us to keep the cars. Mind you, we have people's biometric data stored on the card, and so we cannot just leave them anywhere that somebody else can have access to your card. You are the only person who can pick your own ID card, and you take responsibility for it thereafter. So we have that duty to secure your cards until we get it to you. That's been a bit of difficulty. First of all, getting the space, the right space to put these cards in the various district assemblies and sub-metros, and also to get people that we have to pay to sit there. We know when we are a public institution, if we don't have permission, financial permission to recruit, we cannot recruit people. So we've been using temporary people for some time, and we even are owing those we use.
Can we just rewind a bit? You know, when you first did the registration, you gave a time for persons to come for their ID cards. What happened? Is it because people didn't turn up, or you were not visible in all the centers where people registered?
The mass distribution 2011, we were visible in all the centers. The one we did 2013, as I did say, we clustered centers, so maybe about 4 centers or 6 centers will have their cars located at one place. So they're not far places, they're just in the same community. So our people are sitting there, you go and you pick it. That one we did because we did not have the funding to do the mass
because, you know, I almost gave up because I went to the place where I registered and they asked me to go somewhere else.
Okay.
You know, within the same community, but it was quite a distance.
Okay.
And I did because I had some time, but I thought that not everybody would be willing to, because you think that where you registered is where you find your card. But if you went there and they said, oh no, you have to go to somewhere else for it, then it's a bit of a problem.
You see, the approach was for us to adopt this mass registration and then mass distribution because we wanted to make this service as close as possible to the doorsteps of people, to make it accessible to them. But it's not as if we have an obligation, a responsibility that we have to bring the cards to the people. We have to register and have your national ID card. We have brought it as close as possible to your doorstep. I think that we should accept as people that
because
we have some responsibility.
Because you were kind enough to even go to certain offices to register.
We went very far in making sure that people have access to these cards. Institutions, especially public institutions, we went there with the cards for people to pick them up. Some of the private institutions who could not let their staff go out paid the fee of delivering the cards, and we gave the cards out. So I think that people should also accept that they have some responsibility to pick these cards.
So who is expected to come to your head office now?
We registered people during the mass registration. Anybody who participated during the mass registration exercise in Greater Accra, I want to emphasize, only Greater Accra can come to our office and pick the card. Now,
so
if you...
The whole of the Greater Accra region, so if you're coming from, say, Dansuman, because your office...
Yes.
Your office is not very close to Dansuman.
No.
Where's your office again, then?
We are the Tetekwashi interchange, if you know, the Ghana Standards Authority, the Gulf House. Those are the key areas you can focus on. There's a road between these two institutions. You go up, you meet GS Plaza Hotel, you turn left, we are there. Or if you know where the Foods and Drugs Authority is now currently located, they are our neighbor.
So we're asking people in the whole of the Greater Accra region, doesn't matter where you are, to come to this particular location for your card?
Yes, because
you think people would turn up even on Saturdays?
Because we brought it to your community, you did not pick it up. We have made the effort. We brought the card as close as possible to you. You did not pick it up. We are giving you the opportunity to pick it up on a Saturday. Indeed, every day of the week we are working. It's only Saturday we are adding on because people complain that they don't have the opportunity during the week to pick it up. So yes, they must come there and pick it up. We want to say that registering under the system and having the national ID card is compulsory, is mandatory. We accept that we have to make the service available. We have other institutions that have their services located in their district offices. People go there and access those services. Yes, we know that we are not national, to mean that we don't have offices in every part of the country, every region, every district. We are working on that. We hope we'll get there soon so that people can access the service.
Are you worried? I mean, if it's my business to come for my card because it will be useful to me and I'm not coming for it, why are you worried?
Because it will get to a point that you would need it, and we have the data. The government needs the data, but you need the ID card to identify yourself. So if you don't pick it up now, it will get to a point you would come after us to get it. If you withhold information from the authority, that is, if you fail to register, it's a crime, it's an offense, and it is if you are found liable, you'll be charged 250 penalty units, and one penalty unit is 12 Ghana cedis, so times 250 is 3,000 Ghana cedis.
So if it is found that you refuse to give information,
give information, that's even if you refuse to register, you are refusing to provide information to the authority, and so it's an offense.
But you know, right now we use our passports. That's also biometric.
It will get to a point where you cannot use any other ID card, only the national ID card, because it's the mandated one, a law passed by Parliament for people to be identified in this country either as a citizen or a non-citizen. All of the other cards that we have in the system are institutional cards. If you are not traveling, you don't have the need for a passport. If you are not going to drive a vehicle, you don't need a driver's license. And indeed, only persons 18 years and above who are qualified to have or eligible to have a voter's ID card. It was because of that vacuum that existed where we did not have a national ID card that all these ones became national ID cards. Now we have a national ID card.
So when are you opened on Saturdays? It doesn't include Sundays, does it?
No, it doesn't. We're starting this Saturday, and people can come to our office and pick their ID cards. We work from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
9 to 2. Are you still registering new people? What's the process now? Do people still have to come to your head office to register?
It's the same thing. We are doing all of this at the head office for the time being. There's a lot of discussions going on. Recently, we're talking about even the SIM card registration. It's come up again this week. Which
I totally object to. I don't know why we're being asked to go and re-register when they are not telling us why. I mean, if somebody didn't do their work well, that person should be punished.
Well, I cannot speak for that, but we all know that the minister says the only way they will do that is that it will be based on the national ID card, which means that there was a problem. And so the national ID card is to identify you. And so we are having talks with the NCA, with the telcos, as to how best we can go about this registration to make sure that it is done properly this time, tied to your identity as it exists in the national database. You know, the problem we have currently, if we all don't use the data in the national ID database, is that I can elect to give you a set of records on myself as EC, and I can go to NHIA, give another set of records. Because these systems are not communicating, it's difficult to tell that I exist as two different persons in these places. So they all are to link into the national database to clean their system and use the data to authenticate their databases. It's unfortunate that this one that is supposed to be the mother database for others to use is rather late, and the others are
and I'm worried the one that's supposed to be the mother database is also broke. Because, you know, I have a proposal. Why wouldn't you, because children are born every day, why wouldn't you why wouldn't you have an officer in all the major hospitals, I mean, if possible, in all the hospitals across the country, so that if a fresh baby is born, you get to register that baby, you know, that sort of thing. I mean, instead of saying, wait, come to our head office to come and register. And as it is now, people are not, if you like, they do not necessarily have the need for it now, so people would not be moved to want to come to your head office to come and register.
The desire of the system is that the birth and death registry will be the one feeding our database with information of births and deaths for us to be cleaning that database. Then we are doing our registration from 6 years and above because of the fingerprint that we're using now for identification.
Okay, so for instance, are you in the schools?
From 6 years and above, no, we are not in the schools. As I said, we did the registration. It's a new thing. We thought that it was wise to do a mass registration because, as you're saying, if you leave it to people to walk to district offices to register, they will not turn up. And so we did a mass registration to collect the initial data. The continuous registration requires you to access our offices to register. Our officers may from time to time do outreach programs into communities and register people, but we are not there yet. So people have to come and register. After the mass registration, you then have to now access the registration.
There's also the bit about registration of foreigners.
Yes.
Is that still in force?
It's ongoing, and we want to encourage foreign nationals who are here that they have to register. We're doing a number of things with the immigration service, and even those with a permit, they have to register under the system. Those who are going to be here, as long as you be here for more than 90 days, cumulatively in one given year. You can travel, come back 1 month, go and come back another 1 month. As long as it will be more than 90 days in a given year, you have to register with the authority, because we need to identify all persons who live in this country. And so what we did, people are mistaking it for the mass registration that was done at the conference center. The foreign nationals think that we had ended the registration. No, we still do registration, and so they should still continue to register.
So with everything, you know, being said, everything that you've said, you think the identification process has been a success or failure?
No, it's not a failure. Maybe we haven't met timelines for the mass collection of data, and maybe the card distribution also was not maybe as successful as we expected it to be in Greater Accra. We have been there.
And also one major thing, the fact that a lot of us do not really value the cards.
It's a shame if people think that they don't value their card, because it is the national ID card, and you would be using it for several things very soon, and then you see the need for it, because we have not covered the entire country. If you start enforcing the law, people don't have the card, you will deny people services. So we are holding on.
Have you sorted that issue with the banks? Because some time back there were reports that the banks were not taking the cards as identification cards.
Yes, some still have issues, and we offer training to them. Some took advantage, some did not. But it is unlawful to reject the card in any way.
So what can you do when you go to a bank and they refuse to take your national ID?
It is making things difficult for citizens, and we have the duty to make the banks accept the card. They came up with their own reasons, and they have genuine reasons. They have people's money, and if they are not careful, somebody comes to cash another person's money based on identification, they are in trouble. So they want online verification, not the offline that we are helping them. They want a system where, while you are standing there, they can log into a pictorial system.
Can you make that possible?
We are working on that, and we are sure that this year they will have the verification equipment, and all other institutions that are to demand the card. The law says all institutions that do any transaction that requires identification must demand the national ID card.
Okay.
So we will give it to them.
I'll give you some less than 30 seconds to mention the number you are so dying to.
I don't have that off head.
Okay. Is it on this letter though?
Yeah. We have the 0302 999, that's 999 30629. People can call these numbers. I will repeat it: 0302 999 30629. They can call these numbers for any information they need, and also on their cards and all our services.
All right, Bertha, thank you so much for your time, and I do hope that people will come to your office located at Tetekwashi. It's not very far from the Fiesta Royale, and it's not very far from that will be the Standards Authority.
Yes, the Standards Authority, the Golf House,
which will direct you to the place. All right.
We're also grateful to Joynews for the opportunity to reach to the public.
All right, I'll come back with Roland and wrap this up for you. Stay with us.